So recently, Sony PlayStation, they've been getting a lot of criticism, a lot of flack for some of their more questionable business decisions, whether that be their push into the live service market, whether that be their new PlayStation Portal that's like their handheld, that's not really a handheld, or even most recently, it's their PlayStation subscription like Plus raising in price, getting a pretty sizable increase in the cost of their subscription service, with a lot of people noting the fact that they're starting to charge people a lot more for online, just the online, as well as like the subscription tiers, without really offering a whole lot, whether it be like no real first party multiplayer options. There's no real like big hitters coming in a long time to like the PS Plus subscription services, depending on who you are. But yeah, overall PlayStation has been getting hit with a lot of criticisms, and in this video I want to discuss why that is, my opinions on these, and overall what PlayStation should do in the future, or at least what I would like them to do in the future. If you guys like this video, do me a favor and like this video. Please consider subscribing, as that does help me out tons. Without wasting any more time, let's get into it. Alright, so the first big like thing I want to touch on is this price increase that is starting to bother people. This is the most recent thing that's bothering people. Honestly, when I heard that they were increasing the price of PS Plus, I didn't really blink. I didn't really think twice about it. This is something that I've come to expect from all subscription services, whether that be a Netflix, a Hulu, a Game Pass, even like Nintendo moving, like creating like the expansion pass, whatever the heck. There's always ways that these companies are trying to charge you more for services that you already have, services that you're already accustomed to. Yeah, they're usually a lot more incremental, whereas Sony PlayStation just jumped the gun and did like a huge like 30% increase. So again, whether we can get into the conversation about whether or not they should increase it, we can get into the conversation about whether or not they should even charge people about online. But in the end of the day, the amount of people that actually are gonna be canceling their subscription services, whether that be to one of the tiers or whether that just be to the base online, I doubt it's really gonna be a sizable amount. I also doubt it's gonna be a big enough margin that's gonna like affect them profit wise. Because if they're having a 30% increase in like their profit, or at least in their subscription tier price, then yes, they're gonna have a lot of people drop off in order for them to start feeling the effect of that like price change negatively on their like bottom line. So in the end of the day, business wise, I get why they're doing this. It just makes sense, especially with their like live service online multiplayer games that are sometime rumored to be coming out probably in 2024. I know Helldivers been like questioned, rumored whether it'd be released in October. But yeah, so they do have a lot of multiplayer games coming, so it makes sense for them to start charging more for the online now, as it's gonna be more on like the mind of like players, especially again with like Call of Duty coming out. They still have that marketing with PlayStation. So yeah, it just makes sense. They're gonna raise prices. And does it suck? Yeah, it sucks, especially with the fact that right now PlayStation's in this place that they don't feel challenged to really do anything consumer focused. They're not doing anything with the consumer in mind. A lot of it is, how can we use this loyal fan base and, you know, exploit them for all that we possibly can. But honestly, I had made a video probably a couple months back about this, where I was already noticing some of their greedy tendencies starting to come like to the forefront again. Things like a couple while back, when Spider-Man was getting removed from the PlayStation Plus subscription tier, and it was getting like the upgrade pass, and they were starting to charge like a lot more for it, etc., etc. Things that were like relatively suspicious for the timing of it, because it was right at the beginning of the Spider-Man 2 hype. So people were hyped about Spider-Man. People who haven't played Spider-Man I'm sure wanted to go back and play it. And them removing it from the subscription tier was just very, I feel like, not consumer friendly. because again, they knew that they knew there was going to be a bump in players for that original Spider-Man, and for them to remove it from the subscription and force people to pay for it, whether that be the PlayStation version or the recently released PS5 version, whatever. Anyways, I noticed that change from PlayStation where they get, real big headed. They don't feel like there's any competition, so they're gonna do whatever the heck they want to do at the consumer's expense. We saw this back in the PlayStation 3 era. In the very beginning of the PlayStation 3 era, they were very arrogant. They felt like they had no competition and no challengers, and they took advantage of a lot of people, or at least they thought they could, until the Xbox 360 really showed them that there was competition. The Nintendo Wii showed them that there was a lot of competition for that market at that time. But in a modern era where people are more willing to spend money on games on multiple consoles, yeah, I don't see them being really challenged as much as they have in the past. Xbox Series X and S just dropped, their biggest game of the last couple years, Starfield. Yet I don't see PlayStation feeling any of the negativity. If anything, I see a lot of PlayStation fanboys coming to bat for PlayStation, talking mad mess about Starfield, even though they don't plan on playing the game. So it's weird to see this core fan base that isn't shaken, isn't moving from the fact that PlayStation is God's here, that PlayStation can do no wrong. And this is kind of the core problem. The fact that it's so easy to be a PlayStation fan because for the last generations, they've been killing it with a lot of their first party offerings, from their God of Wars, Horizons, Ghost of Tsushima's, whatever the heck it is. They've given the players what they wanted for a really long time. And with the PlayStation 5 selling 2-to-1 for the Xbox Series X and S consoles, and they haven't even really dropped a big game on the PlayStation 5. Because if you look at the PlayStation 5 lineup, we got Returnal, we got Ratchet and Clank, awesome games, but there still isn't really any system seller, I think, which is weird because they're selling systems. When you look at Xbox, where they about to drop 2 Forza games, they dropped their Halo, they dropped smaller titles like Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, etc. Not to mention they just dropped Starfield, and they plan on dropping a whole bunch of games in the near future, yet they're not selling consoles. So again, if PlayStation 5 can skate by 3 years without really dropping that big must-have, you need a PlayStation 5 to play this game, and still move units, then why would they feel compelled to think about the consumer when the consumers are just sending them money without even thinking about it? So that makes sense for why they're increasing the price. Again, no surprise for me because I saw this stuff coming a while ago. Am I gonna change my subscription service? Probably not, just because I use it frequently. I might go down to the extra tier or something, but right now I'm not really blinking twice about the price change. Again, just because I think I was mentally prepared for this going into it. So again, no surprise on my part. If we look at things like the PlayStation Portal, where a lot of people are questioning the necessity for this, there is no necessity for this. Right now, Sony's R&D is just delivering at a high frequency that there's not really a need, and they're kind of just creating accessories, creating things that are saying, hey, you should buy this. And yeah, there's gonna be people who buy it, but for me, the thing that makes me worried about this whole PS Portal thing isn't necessarily the PS Portal. It's the lack of accessibility features that the PlayStation Portal offers for people who are already deep into the ecosystem. If you wanted to get deeper into this ecosystem, you'd pick up the PS Portal. But then that's probably your most loyal fan base, and instead of rewarding them with a lot of cool accessibility features or even just a lot of features in general, instead they almost strip it of features. It could only do remote play. It can't do any cloud gaming. It can't really be used with a bunch of other headsets. So you'd have to buy their proprietary, you'd have to buy their proprietary accessories to go along with the PS Portal for the most optimal experience on the PS Portal. again, a lot of really like you didn't have to go this route. You could have made it more open, more accessible, especially for your most loyal fan bases who are going to be picking this up. I'm probably not going to pick up the PS Portal because I just don't really see like a need for it, especially at that price point. So again, all these decisions that PlayStation are making make sense because they are the unrivaled market leader right now for really no reason. Because right now the sentiment for a long time has been Xbox has no games when they've been dropping games left and right. I think pretty consistently, minus like 2022. But other than that, they've been dropping games. Whether or not they're the games that people really want is another question. But they've been dropping games. Whereas PlayStation, yeah, they dropped a lot of games last year. Some banger titles like God of War Ragnarok, Horizon, etc. The list can go on. But a lot of those are accessible through the PlayStation 4. You didn't really need a PlayStation 5 to play this. Sure, you're getting the most optimal experience on the PlayStation 5, but it wasn't a necessity. And I think when you take into account the fact that the PlayStation 5 really only truly offers, first party wise, Returnal, Ratchet and Clank, and Astros, there's not really a huge like need to buy a PlayStation 5 because these are titles that you can wait for. In my opinion, you could wait for them, and you'd probably be better off because then they'll be cheaper by the time you actually do get to them. So again, when you're the market leader without really offering anything to the consumer that's like a must-have, yet you're still leading the market, you're gonna start making weird and wacky decisions like this. You're gonna start seeing how much you can kind of push your fan base around before they push back. And unless really Xbox steps up their game, I don't see PlayStation changing anytime soon. And the problem is they're going to get away with a lot of this stuff because we know that they're going to be dropping some banger titles probably in 2024. So yes, they're getting a lot of negative press right now, but the second they drop a Ghost of Tsushima 2, the second they drop like a next Horizon style game or a next God of War level game, we're going to forgive them, we're going to forget because we know deep down PlayStation is the only PlayStation is the only brand that can really deliver that experience that the core PlayStation fan base desperately wants to be playing. So, yeah, overall, I think they shouldn't take. Overall, I don't think they should be taking advantage of their fan base the way that they are. But unfortunately, that's the position PlayStation always finds themselves in, where they get big-headed, they get arrogant, and they start making decisions that benefits their CEOs, benefits their bottom lines, etc. Anyways, what PlayStation should do, could do, would do, I definitely would start dialing back on taking advantage of the fan base at least so frequently. I feel like if you're gonna do it, spread it out so we're not really feeling the effects about it so back to back, or talking about it so back to back. We had the PlayStation Showcase that just delivered live service games for the most part. We got PlayStation Portal, which nobody asked for. And then you have this price increase. So it's been a back-to-back year of negative PlayStation press. And again, when Spider-Man 2 drops, everyone's going to forget about it. No one's going to be talking about it. That is what that is. I do think, though, Sony is going to have to start delivering on their promise of the PlayStation 5 pretty soon. Because 2024 is coming and Xbox is going to be dropping a lot more banger titles. Things like Fable, things like Avowed. They're going to have Starfield that's going to be like pretty optimized by next year or even like for years to come, etc. And you got the Switch 2 coming, and the Switch 2 is rumored to be running, at the level of a PlayStation 4, which means they're going to have some pretty banger titles coming out on the Nintendo Switch 2 or whatever the successor to the Nintendo Switch is. So if I was PlayStation, I would stop sitting on my laurels now, start stacking up my chips, start announcing games, start giving people a roadmap so we have something else to talk about that's not PlayStation Portal, that's not increase in price, that's not live service games. PlayStation needs to really quickly change the narrative behind their brand right now because, again, I just don't see people taking it for as long as they've taken it. So, I mean, eventually the cookie's going to crack. Eventually they're going to, run out of good favor to really offer the community. And if they don't have any games to fall back on, they're really going to be left with the only option of people, picking up the Xbox consoles, people picking up PCs, or people picking up the Switch 2. Anyways, you guys, these are my final thoughts. I'm gonna end it with here because I did go on a little longer than I expected, which is starting to become a little normal now. But it is what it is. Anyways, you guys, let me know down below what you guys think. And with all that being said, I'll see you guys on the next video.